All right, guys, before we bring in Ross, car shopping should feel exciting, not confusing. And with CarGurus, you get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And CarGurus makes the whole process simple by giving you real information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. CarGurus connects with you with the trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process with over 4 million listings. That's the most of any major online automotive marketplace. You'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at CarGurus.com. That's CarGurus.com, CarGurus.com. Well, welcome in, Ross Tucker.
Hey, Ross, how you doing? Happy Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you guys. I'm doing just okay. I just finished a workout in the room next door, and I turned the heat up so I can really sweat when I work out.
Okay.
Went down to shower. I forgot to turn it back down.
Oh.
So I just turned it down, but it's 74 degrees and really hot in here, and I'm feeling really stupid. So that's okay.
Well,
you live and learn.
You're constantly burning calories right now. Think about that.
I know, but I just showered, and so I'm about to sweat through everything right now. I was also a minute late, and then my internet wouldn't work, and I'm a mess. I'm the Browns right now. I'm a mess.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than sweating after a shower.
Yeah,
that's just the worst feeling.
By the way, do you ever see the Seinfeld episode where they say the shower didn't take?
Yeah,
you
sure.
know?
Yeah.
He's like George Costanza, he's sweating. Has anybody ever heard anybody actually use that expression? I've never heard that before.
No, but
the
I like
shower
it.
didn't take.
Yeah, I like that.
I will say this, Ross. Have you ever done this? As a player, you in a hurry to get up out of there. You take your shower, you get your stuff on, you're running, you get in the car, you trying to avoid people. You get halfway to the crib, and you realize you ain't put no deodorant on. and as a grown man, at any point in time after the age of 15, if you don't put no deodorant on, in the first 5 minutes after that shower, you might as well get back in the shower.
That's when the shower doesn't take, Ross.
That's when it don't take.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard this term, but at multiple teams I played for, definitely on Saturdays, sometimes after Friday practice, guys would talk about taking a shower pill. So rather than actually showering, they say, I'm taking a shower pill, meaning they're not showering.
Oh, that's gross.
And, I always thought that was gross. I mean, they were sweating. I'm not, that's gross. Terrible. Shower pill.
No, that girdle is a
nasty.
Different offensive lineman.
You football players are gross, man. You're nasty.
Offensive line pads and gloves is the nastiest work in them. You got to at least wash your hands. Offensive linemen that's why we don't like getting held as D linemen. Them gloves they got, quit touching me.
They stink. All right, well, let's get to the Browns, and let's start with a topic that rarely gets discussed on this show, and that's Shedeur Sanders. Ross, I just asked Tyvis this question, and I'm curious your answer to it. What you've seen of Shedeur Sanders so far this year, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being this guy's definitely going to be a starting quarterback in the league, 1 being there's no chance he's a starting quarterback, or I won't even say starting, I'll say good starting quarterback in the league, 1 being no chance, where would you put the number for you right now?
I think this is an awesome question, and I think this is the relevant question. For the Browns organization moving forward and what they want to do in the offseason. What I think is wild about it, and I learned this in college and it's involved, but the short version is this. I'm going to give you a number, and the number for me is like a 5 or 6. Okay, I would say a 5 or 6, meaning I think he's a little bit closer to showing he's the starter than he is to showing he's not.
Okay.
But what's wild about that is I wonder, and I don't know the answer to this, and maybe you guys do. I wonder how differently I would feel if he had been the second overall pick in the draft.
That's a good question.
As opposed to a 5th rounder. Does that help him or hurt him? Does the fact that he's exceeded expectations as a 5th rounder help him? Or if he was the second overall pick, would I give him more the benefit of the doubt? I'll take it even a step further. Based on talking with guys from other teams and people with the Browns, my expectations were even lower. You know, when people told me what he was like in the combine meetings, concerns they had about him from a football IQ standpoint, you know, I lowered the expectations even more. So I would say in general, he has exceeded my expectations. And I don't know how much of that is my expectations or based on what other people told me during the pre-draft process, but he has played better than I thought he would and really that I was led to believe he would.
So
very, very interesting.
So now, would you be willing to give him 2026 as a starting quarterback? Let's say the Browns finish top 3. They finish with the top 3 pick. What would you do if you were the GM?
Yep, I love this question because so often when I talk to other people, they'll just say, should Shadur be the quarterback next year for the Browns? Should Shadur start next year? And what I always like to say is, well, what are their other options? Because life comes down to options. If they had the number 1 pick, I would say no. I would say I would probably take Fernando Mendoza. I would feel more comfortable. I'm just going if I was the owner or if I'm Andrew Barry and my livelihood, probably my only chance as a GM depends on it. I think Mendoza is a safer bet. Now, you know, Mendoza, I don't even know if he has the same upside as Shadur. Mendoza is very Jared Goff-ish to me. Gives me like a Kirk Cousins vibe. Maybe some of that's his personality. I don't know. But I feel like I would be more inclined, maybe because I'm a conservative person, to bet on Mendoza. I think the one that's interesting, if the Browns have the 2nd or 3rd pick, I don't know how you don't turn pro if you're Dante Moore. And I know Phil Knight funds Oregon, and he can get a lot of NIL money, but you can't go any higher than top 5. Like you think about where Nussmeier thought he was going to go. Mm-hmm. Think about where Drew Aller thought he was going to go. Dude, if you can go top 5, you got to go. You got to go now.
Yeah.
And so I think Dante Moore will turn pro. And I think that would probably be a tough one to turn down for the Browns, would be my guess, if they can pull the trigger on Dante Moore with how impressive he's been as a first-year starter. So that's why I say it's about the next best alternative. If the Browns had 4th or 5th or 6th and said, you know what, we're not sold enough on those guys to move up, to give up a bunch of picks to take them, we'd rather give Shadur 2026, let it play out, and then potentially take a quarterback in 2027. I can live with that one too.
Let me ask you this, Ross. Let's say that, is it because Shadur was a 5th-round pick? If he went as the number 2 pick last year and you seen exactly what you seen out of him this year, would you still be inclined to take in Fernando Mendoza at 1? Let's say you ended up with the 1 or 2 or whatever. Would you still want to take Fernando or Dante Moore with that pick?
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would, because I think I would look at it. And isn't that crazy? That is illogical. That is illogical. Look, take away my Princeton degree, okay? Take it away.
Nah, keep that.
That is illogical.
Show that.
But it's so funny, because if you took him number 2 overall, you would focus primarily on the positives, the upside. Like this last game, I don't remember seeing Shadur run like that at Colorado. I mean, I know he did a little bit, but I don't see him making those plays with his legs as much in Colorado as he did for the Browns on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I do think if you took him number 2 overall, you would say, kind of like Jackson Dart with the Giants or Cam Ward with the Titans, I think you would say he's shown enough that we want to see what he can do next year. He's shown enough that we put a lot into this. We invested a lot. Let's see this thing play out next year. That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
The Browns didn't invest a lot in Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
I don't think they did have a big conviction on him. That we know they didn't. They took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. So they didn't go into this thing with a huge conviction for Shadur and what he can do. But that's also why I would be okay if they went that route. If they say, you know what, we got a guy making the minimum for 3 more years, and we can see he might be every bit as good as Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, and maybe even the guys coming out this year, that to me is a perfectly acceptable decision, which is why, look, there's 2 more games to play, but I don't have a problem either way the Browns go. I would say because Shedeur is a 5 or a 6. If he, guys, was a 3 or a 4, then you definitely try to draft the guys.
Yep.
If Shadur hits 7, let's say over the next 2 games, okay, Shadur plays really well, and Bull asks me 2 weeks from now, what do you think now, Ross? And I say 7, then I don't draft somebody else. Then I stay with Shadur. He's got to, in my mind, get to like 7 to be like, nope, this is our guy for 2026 no matter what.
I really agree with everything you're saying there, and I do think had he been drafted 2nd overall, first of all, yes, I think they would be sticking with him if they drafted him 2nd overall, but we would have so much more data if they had drafted him 2nd overall because he would have, at the very least, been the number 2 quarterback in the preseason, which means he would have gotten a lot more reps. He would, once they benched Flacco, even if they had started, we'll never know if he would have started Flacco. Once they benched Flacco, he would have been the starter by week, whatever that was, week 4. So he would have been, had he stayed healthy, would have played 10 games. The whole draft would have been different because, in theory, you wouldn't have traded Mason Graham. You traded for Mason Graham, you wouldn't have had that pick. Who knows? The whole thing could have gone differently. But clearly, at the very least, we'd have more information right now.
Yeah, and a couple other thoughts that just pop into my head while you guys are talking. Number 1, I don't know what's gotten into the defense lately, especially the run.
Malik Collins is gone.
Yeah, I mean, the run defense, but think about what Shedor's record as a starter would be if the defense was playing more like they were earlier in the year. Yeah, that's a real thing. And then the next thing I would tell you is they don't have to make this decision now. Let's see if Dante Moore enters the draft and then spend a lot of time with Mendoza and Dante Moore. And if they have a really strong conviction about one of those guys, they love one of those guys, they're convinced that one of those guys is the answer in Cleveland, then I think you do take him. If there's even a little bit of hesitation, if there's even a little bit of uncertainty, I would probably rather give Shadur next year, a full offseason and next year.
Ross, would you say that Shedeur Sanders is the worst quarterback you've ever seen?
Of course not.
No.
Well, it's
not even close. Why? Who said that?
Well, this EPA stat that takes everything into account has him as the worst quarterback. Is it ever, or what is it?
I think it's since they've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah, they say he's the worst. They take everything, the line, the quarterback, the receivers, the defense, all of that
supposedly
is taken into account, and they come up with this number.
EPA per play.
And Shedeur Sanders is the worst quarterback statistically of all time.
We don't see it, but.
So that is a bad thing for Shedeur Sanders, and I'll tell you why. I do believe that Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns, maybe a little bit less so without D. Podesta now, I do believe they are very data-driven. And Andrew Berry gets that from his time in Philadelphia. Obviously, he's a smart guy also. We know that. And so some of the advanced metrics and statistics like that, they absolutely look at. That said, Andrew also is intimately involved with the personnel around Shadur, who is, let's be honest, below average. The receivers are bottom 5 in the NFL. The offensive line is probably bottom 10 this year. I love Fannin and Njoku and Judkins till he got hurt. So they got pretty good backs and tight ends. But, Andrew Berry knows where Shadur started. He knows where he is now. He knows what he's been asked to do. So I would tell you, while they will take into account advanced metrics like that, they have a lot more information than those statistics do or than we do. They know what this guy does every day. And I can't overstate, you guys know, Tyvis, you guys know, you played. I can't overstate how important it is, how he carries himself in the building, outside of the building, what the other players think of him, the respect that the players and or coaches have for him. That matters a great deal at that position. It is a leadership position. It's a face of the franchise position, and it's different than every other position.
I look at the very fascinating thing to me as I look at this, Ross, is, Ian Rappaport comes out and says that Andrew Berry's fingerprint will most likely be on the offseason, and that there's most likely some coaching changes coming. When you look at Andrew Berry as got kind of the last guy standing, does that bode better for Shedeur Sanders? Or is this now a situation where it's going to be part of that decision is up to the new person they bring in? Or does the owner, have some sort of say in it in terms of if a coach is coming in here, whether they like Shedeur or if they do decide to give him 26, does that coach have to be involved in that and on the process?
By the way, the Browns are fascinating because, first of all, I would love to know how involved Jimmy Haslam is or is not, because ever since I retired, I've had coaches tell me stories about teams I played for where the owners were involved. We had no idea, but that's why this quarterback got traded or whatever. Mm-hmm. Ownership decisions. Mm-hmm. I think that happens more often than people realize. I also think, what did Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry want to hear? Let's say they move on from Stefanski, okay? And they're interviewing head coaches. If you're a head coach candidate, you got to find out what these guys want to hear. Do they want to hear that you think Shedeur is the guy and that you want to work with Shedeur? Do they want to hear you say, I can make Shedeur a top 10 quarterback? That's my job. Give me the job. I'm going to do it. Or do they not want that? Do they want a guy that's going to be truthful in his mind and say, no, he's not the guy. We got a top 3 pick. We got to take one of these other 2 guys. I am fascinated because some guys, when they interview for these jobs, they just tell it like it is, like Mike Zimmer, which, by the way, is a big reason why Mike Zimmer didn't get a job for years and years. You know that, Bull, is because he told it like it was, and owners didn't want to hear that. Other guys will tell the owner exactly what they think the owner wants to hear. I guess the interesting aspect of that is if you're Andrew Berry, most decisions are made in this league based on self-preservation and one's own self-interest. So if you're Andrew Berry, do you think your better chance to survive 26 and get to 27 is to surround Shedeur Sanders with the best team possible and try to win as many games as possible? Or do you think your best chance to keep that job is to draft Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore in the top 5, have them show promise, have them appear to be the long-term answer, and then, you're coming off a great draft in 2025 and getting the franchise quarterback in 2026, you're probably in a pretty good place.
That is a great answer. That's what we're gonna be talking about all off season. What do they want to hear? I mean, this thing is gonna roll all the way through the draft, the combine. Yeah. By the way, we still get a chance to see Mendoza. We get to see these quarterbacks more.
Moore and Mendoza. Yeah.
So that's
and also, we don't really know how Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry feel about Shedeur Sanders. We have some idea how the coaching staff feels by the pecking order they went through, by where they drafted those guys, by how they use Shedeur Sanders. But a lot of the playing time decisions, I mean, who knows what would have happened, guys, if Dylan Gabriel didn't get concussed? Bull, you were talking about sample size. Yeah. Our sample size would have been even smaller.
Yes.
And think about how much of a disaster that would have been. If the sample size, at least you're going to get 2 more games, and whatever that ends up being, 7 games, 9, I lost track.
7, it'll be 7 and a half.
You're going to get a decent sample size,
yeah,
which would not have happened if Gabriel didn't get concussed.
True.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very
it's going to be. I mean, we're going to talk about this nonstop till the draft. It's going to be crazy. Ross, great stuff as always, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. Great talking with you guys always.
See you later.